Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
I didn't refuse to leave.
You did.
I did
You
not.
said you were taking your sweet time, so let's go. So let's go.
I said I had to slow down because of my medical condition, and you won't let me go. And I just wanted to leave.
I'm recording it, yeah, man.
Let me go.
I was at the mall on Saturday where I saw that you have bylaw PH20 pasted on the entryway to the mall, where it states specifically that you should be respectful of the rights of individuals.
I should stop you. I'm not authorized to speak to the press on anything, so I can't answer any questions.
Okay, so how are individuals who are exempt from the bylaw being honored to enter the mall facility?
I'm not authorized to speak.
Are you allowing max exemptions at the mall?
I think I just told you I'm not authorized to speak.
Since the end of November, I have been digging into the heavy-handed enforcement of the mask mandate and other COVID-related regulations. A general theme here seems to be that because the rules have and continue to change so much, no one really knows what they're enforcing anymore. We have health units giving legal advice to business owners, with the law being largely left open to interpretation in the moment. It keeps bringing me back to the same question. Why are people who are mask exempt being treated like criminals? For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini, and many of you may remember my altercation with Peterborough police at the end of November. You can find this full report at rebelnews.com, but here's a quick refresher. I am identifying myself here to this police officer Donnelly. Who won't answer any questions apart from allegedly enforcing a Trespass to Property Act, where I was conducting reporting some incidences of mask exemptions not being honored. And that's pretty clearly outlined on the public health website here in Peterborough region. Not sure why the police aren't simultaneously upholding that clearly outlined exemption mandate in Peterborough. I'm just trying to understand what exactly is going on here, because I'm getting a lot of mixed information from the public health unit and simultaneously a security guard and now the police. Can you help me, clarify what's going on? Nothing. A lot of people are just really confused. They're trying to make sense of this whole situation, and I'm trying to help them do that because it's hard to navigate. I mean, public health on one end is saying something, and then it looks like police are enforcing something else. And where does this become a cohesive situation? There's so many segregated parts, and they don't seem to come together very well.
Talk to public health.
Naturally, I have questions and I want answers. So after the Peterborough incident, I've been following up. I even reached out to the Ministry of Health for answers as per the police recommendation, but I got none. Today, I want to focus on the heavy-handed enforcement side of things. Peterborough Staff Sergeant Dan McLean confirmed that police, public health, and city bylaw officers enforce the mask mandate. He acknowledged that exemptions exist and stated that officers have little enforcement experience with the Human Rights Code and receive little training in this legislation. This still doesn't answer who enforces the non-respecting of mask exemptions by businesses. Perhaps Northumberland Peterborough South MPP David Piccini can answer. I included his constituency office in an email I sent to the Ministry of the Solicitor General, specifically asking that it has come to my attention that only a portion of Regulation 364-20 of the Ontario Reopening Act is being enforced, specifically Section 2 under General Compliance, subbracket 4 and 6. It appears that the mask mandate is being aggressively enforced without honoring exceptions which are clearly laid out in the regulation. Why is Regulation 364-20 being so aggressively enforced on one side and not the other? Who ensures that local and provincial police, bylaw, and public health uphold all aspects of this regulation? This is his Polity Speak response. While local businesses and organizations are doing their part to implement public health measures to prevent the spread of coronavirus, as individuals, we also need to continue our efforts as well. It is important to note that there are exemptions to this directive. While many people can safely tolerate and wear face coverings, others cannot. It is important to remember that you cannot tell by looking at an individual whether or not they have a condition that may preclude them from wearing a face covering. It is important during difficult times like these that we do not stigmatize those who are unable to wear face coverings for medical reasons, but are making every effort to ensure their well-being and the well-being of others. Being kind, patient, and respectful goes a long way. Implementation of this directive should be enacted and enforced in good faith and used as a means to educate people on effective public health measures in public spaces. Well, these people are being stigmatized. They're being treated disrespectfully, and there certainly doesn't seem to be a lot of kindness or patience. David Piccini, do you know that this is happening in your riding? Anyway, you'd think after 2 months of investigating in various municipalities, I'd get somewhere, right? Wrong. I still have absolutely zero reports of businesses facing reprimand for the non-respecting of mask exceptions, and no directives from any enforcement or political agencies on who upholds that and how. And when police are called, it's a bait and switch, in that they try to enforce a Trespass to Property Act infringement. So, after the White Oaks Mall incident in London, where a woman was forcibly removed by security while suffering a panic attack, a condition of her mask exception, I wanted to know how that use of force on a medically exempt person was justified. I started by calling mall management. Have a listen.
Hello, Jeff speaking.
Oh, hi, Jeff. My name is Tamara Ugolini, and I'm a reporter for Rebel News. I had an individual reach out to me last week regarding an incident at the mall where she was harassed by security for her mask exception. And I'm calling to ask a few questions. I was at the mall on Saturday where I saw that you have bylaw PH20 pasted on the entryway to the mall, where it states specifically that you should be respectful of the rights of individuals.
I should stop you. I'm not authorized to speak to the press on anything, so I can't answer any questions.
Okay, so how are individuals who are exempt from the bylaw being honored to enter the mall facility?
Sorry, I'm not authorized to speak.
Are you allowing max exemptions at the mall?
I think I just told you I'm not authorized to speak.
Who would I be able to speak to be that's authorized to speak?
I can take your name and number and contact one of our corporate people and see if they'll get back to you.
Okay, but you are the manager of the mall, is that correct?
I'm the manager of the mall, yes.
Okay, and are you honoring the mask exceptions as per the bylaw?
I am not authorized to speak on that.
And you aren't able to provide me the contact information of anyone who is?
I can pass on your name and number if you give it to me.
Sure, but I would prefer to also have their contact so that I can follow up as well.
Notice our process is to take the information and pass it on.
Okay. Do you have an email address that I can send some questions to?
Sure.
Great, I'll take that. And as seems typical with the enforcement of COVID regulations, mall manager Jeff Wilson was unable to provide reasoning for the instructions given to mall security. So I called mall security. Here's what they had to say.
What is mall security?
Hi, yes, my name is Tamara Ugolini, and I'm a reporter, and I'm following an incident where an individual with a mask exception was treated quite aggressively by the security at the White Oaks Mall. I'm wondering if there's someone I can speak to about that.
You can speak to the general manager of the mall. His name is Jeff Wilson.
Oh, okay. I just spoke with Jeff, and he wasn't able to answer my questions. I'm just wondering if you are honoring the exemptions set out by bylaw PH-20 by the City of London?
All comments regarding any policies and procedures being enforced at the mall would be given through Jeff Wilson. He's the general manager of the mall, so he speaks for the property, not the security staff here.
Okay, and I just spoke with Jeff, and he wasn't able to answer any of those questions for me. Is there someone else I could contact to find some answers?
Jeff is the general manager of the mall, so our direction is that all statements are forwarded to him. He's the one who speaks for the property, So if he's unable to answer your question, then I don't know who else would be, as he's the general manager.
Okay. The bylaw being enforced states very clearly that to be respectful of the rights of individuals who are exempt from wearing a mask in conformity with the exemptions provided in the bylaw. Are your security guards trained in this bylaw?
Again, you'd have to get any official statements from Jeff. I'm not able to answer any questions to you unless authorized by him.
Next, I decided to call the London Bylaw Enforcement Snitch Line to report a mask infraction. The woman answering the phone forwarded me to management, which ended up being the voicemail box of Orest Katolik. He's the municipal law enforcement chief and officer for the City of London. I sent emails to all of them: White Oaks Mall Security, Jeff Wilson, the COVID Concerns Bylaw email, and also Mr. Katolik, specifically after someone shared this video with me.
For Mr. Katolik, the owner of a private business, and knowing that there is an exemption, or people can claim a medical exemption, and they don't have to provide proof, and that's fine. But can the owner of a private business determine that they are not going to allow people on their property, even if they are claiming a medical exemption? Do they have that right as the owner of a private business?
Mr. Katolik, please.
Through the chair, yes, they do.
I asked Mr. Katolik to clarify the legal grounds a business could use to discriminate against mask-exempt individuals, and if London police are upholding all aspects of the provincial regulation. No one responded. Not one. So I contacted the media officer for the local police. I wanted to know why the bylaw wasn't honored on December 7th. I wanted to know if the local police were trained in this bylaw and how they were addressing these types of situations where a business or establishment may also be found to be in non-compliance with the provincial regulation 364-20. Sandasha Bao, Constable and Media Relations Officer for the London Police Services, responded. Finally, someone responded. She let me know that on that particular day, mall management, again, that's Jeff Wilson, decided to not abide by the mask exemption clause and enforced the mask mandate indiscriminately. She states that there was a woman without a mask who was asked to leave, and when she refused, security physically removed her under the authority of the Trespass to Property Act. Do I sound like a broken record yet? Instead of honoring medical exemptions, these places are abusing the Trespass to Property Act as a backdoor means to ban mask-exempt people from their premises. We know that hypocrisy is the new normal, but it seems like constant deflection, lack of accountability, and an inability to answer basic questions, those aren't far behind. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. If you found yourself on the receiving end of a fine because you have been a dissenting voice to the COVID narrative, despite medical experts advocating for a more balanced approach, head on over to our campaign, fightthefines.com. Tell us